Hey guys, welcome back to the Comic Book Lowdown. I'm Wellington, and I'm here to bring you guys the full review of Batman Zero Year. Now, this just happens to be one of the covers from Zero Year, so, you know, I'm not going to show you all the covers. There's a lot of issues to it. Um, but yeah, so Batman Zero Year. Let's get started on what a big mess at first Zero Year was, and not mess in its sorry, looking at something, getting distracted. Not mess as in its writing or even its story, really. Just mess in people's reaction, and me included. Um, Taking it from the start, the first arc, I know a lot of people did not like it. I was one of the few people that outwardly said like I'm digging Zero Year so far and things like that. Um, but I did say that it was going slow, very wordy, things of that nature. And as Zero Year progressed into the second arc, and then going into the third arc, I was thoroughly uninterested. And I want to say most people were as well. And people even dropped the book because it was not it was not interesting them. Um, what I recommend if you no, what I recommend go back and read it all. Read it all straight through because Batman Zero Year is actually a really good story. Um, Zack Snyder, he actually kills it. Or not Zack Snyder, Scott Snyder. Scott Snyder, he actually kills it in this book, and I'm still one who loves Greg Capullo's art. I know some people have seemed to grow tired of his art, from what I've heard. Um, Me personally, this is the only Batman book I pick up because, or partly because of the art, because the art in the other books don't grab me as much as the Capullo art does. Um, so the art is just a great show of what this book is. But this book, as most of you know, is a telling of and of Batman's kind of first, I would say first couple, but at the same time, just first major challenge as Batman. His coming to of being Batman, um, with his return to Gotham and kind of his doing his vigilante justice behind different masks before he becomes Batman, and then his becoming a Batman in a different way uh, from what Frank Miller had done in year one. So it was made to be a retelling of the origin, and the thing about that is, before I get into the story itself, is that Scott Snyder Scott Snyder has said himself that he had this Riddler story similar to this in the works, and then because of Forever Evil and things like that, and because of New 52, um, DC had said, oh, because New 52 had established new origins for their characters, Batman being the last character, main character at least, to not have his origin kind of retold. DC had Scott Snyder retell the origin, even though Scott Snyder did not want to. Um, and they told him that if you don't do it, we'll get somebody else who will do it. And so Scott Snyder at least took his ideas and rolled with them in a way that touched on origin, but once you get past that point, it's it's just a Batman story. So I think, and again, this is a New 52, so we also have to kind of broaden our minds to accepting that year one possibly does not exist in this universe. And that's just a whole nother video of understanding comic book continuity and universes and what counts and what doesn't count. And we get wrapped up in all this kind of stuff instead of getting wrapped up in the story we see on the page in front of us. But anyways, back to the story. So after we get past his origin, we see a struggling Batman, and this is what I liked about this story, is that we do get this struggling Batman who cannot win. We see a lot that Batman is always winning, or he always comes up on top, or he's always a step ahead of his of whoever he's fighting, sans the Joker, because the Joker seems to get one leg up on Batman, and then the tides turn and things like that. But in this, we see Batman just fail after fail after failure, and it makes sense to see Batman in this state because he doesn't know what he's doing. And I love to see that Bruce Wayne and Batman, they're so headstrong in what they want to do, and I love seeing that Alfred at this point is not going, he doesn't go along with what Bruce wants to do, or he goes along but not wholeheartedly. And just the character changes throughout this entire story. Everybody's got an arc. From, of course, Bruce and as Batman have an arc that he follows, a character building. Jim Gordon has a character building arc to him, and Alfred has a character building arc to him. And so all these characters, these three main characters that we follow, all grow up together in a sense. We find out there's bad blood between Bruce Wayne and, at the time, Lieutenant Gordon because of Batman because of Bruce witnessing some dirty cop things that he had done when he was just a regular, rookie cop in Gotham. So there's bad blood between them, and then we have just Bruce learning to, first of all, to be Batman, and how Batman should be, not a symbol of vengeance and revenge and things of this nature, but a symbol of justice and good. Bruce has to learn this as Batman as he goes along, and he has to fail as many times as he does to figure out that he's being Batman wrong. And I love that about it. This is all just a growing up story, and Alfred, his arc is that he kind of learns to accept Bruce as being Batman, kind of as Bruce being a man and this being his choice, because he's always there to take care of Bruce, and he kind of again, we all know that Alfred has always been kind of skeptical, at least at first, of Bruce doing what he wants to as Batman. So Alfred has to kind of grow up to learn that, and it's sad the way this ends, and happy at the same time, where Bruce kind of explains that how much Batman means to him, and how much Batman is the only thing that kind of makes Bruce happy, is being Batman. And Alfred kind of has a moment where he can affect Bruce in a way that he feels that might separate him from Batman and make Bruce ultimately happy, or he can do what Bruce feels makes him happy now. And it's sad to see Alfred, to visually see Alfred imagine this scenario where Bruce is happy and living a normal life, and kind of walk away from being able to exact that happiness in Bruce and allow him to be Batman, where then we see Batman being happy with a smile on his face. So I mean, it ends in a happy and yet a sad way. The action, this book, Zero Year, the reason you have to read it all together is because Zero Year could be played out into a movie, and it could be played out into a 2-part movie, sort of like how the Dark Knight Returns animated movie was played out. And the reason I say that is because it's so it's so long, and there's so much. It's so dense and long, and at the same time, it's very episodic, so it can fit into 2 parts or one big movie. Like, the feeling I got from this was definitely a Dark Knight Returns style of storytelling. Not its tone or its story or even how good it is, just its delivery and storytelling. It was very similar to the Dark Knight Returns, and it's very movie-like. It plays out like a movie on page. So again, that's another reason why this story was not meant to be read month to month, and at times month and then 2-month gap to the next issue, especially with the breaks at the start of each issue. There's no previously page for DC, so you gotta have to either read the past issue or issues and then go to the issue that came out, or just try to remember, but that doesn't really work. So especially with the breaks at the beginning of each issue, there's kind of a theme that's set, and we kind of find out what happens with that theme either at the end of the issue, or maybe 2 issues down or 3 issues down. So again, another reason you have to read these together, because there's so many story points in the book that if you wait long periods of time, you won't even catch them when they're said. And that makes the dialogue that you're reading, because there is a lot of dialogue in the book, but that makes the dialogue that you're reading irrelevant, because you have no idea what they're talking about. There are some examples in this book where there are themes touched upon in an issue, and then they're resolved 2 issues later. So if you think about it, that's a 2-month gap, and there possibly was even a 4-month gap due to the Batman Eternal issue that kind of separated, that kind of split Zero Year. So yeah. Another thing that you don't have to do when reading this is read the backup stories. I didn't read any of the backup stories that happen at the beginning of Zero Year, because I didn't find them to be, when I was reading them when the issues came out, I didn't find them to be relevant to the story. They just kind of added a little thing here and there, a little piece to Bruce's origin before he comes back to Gotham, but it doesn't add anything to Zero Year really. And I think it so much doesn't add to anything that DC, from what I understand, stopped doing the backup issues, and I totally didn't notice when they stopped doing backup stories in these issues until months after they did it. So yeah, so that you don't have to read the backup stories, is pretty much what I'm saying. Just read the main story and then move along, because you don't want these big story gaps taking away from what you're reading in the Zero Year story. because it plays so much like a movie, you have to read it all together. Or, just like a movie, if you pause it for 4 hours or 4 days or whatever and come back to it, it's like I might as well just watch it over. So that's pretty much how you got to take reading Zero Year. Now, how do I feel? The way I feel it lives up in Batman lore, or like how like its necessity to read, or just how I feel its legacy is gonna be. If you don't have Batman Year One, or if you haven't read Batman Year One, I would say buy Batman Year One over this. If the trade of this comes out and you're choosing between Year One or Zero Year, choose Year One every day. But it's also different stories. Year One is great because it's so grounded and it's so almost realistic to what Batman would have to face as his first challenge as being Batman. Zero Year is definitely the Dark Knight Rises of Batman. Just it's a huge scale thing that you would not expect Batman to face as kind of his first challenge as Batman, really. So Zero Year is the Dark Knight Rises, while Year One is, I guess you could say, Batman Begins. Or Year One is just Year One. It's just grounded and it's simple and short, and it's great. So I mean, if it's between Year One and Zero Year, Year One. If it's between Court of Owls and Zero Year, I would recommend Court of Owls. But is this something that I do recommend? Absolutely. I don't know if it trumps any of the Batman classics that have come out, like Year One or Dark Knight Returns or Court of Owls, or Long Halloween, or all the kind of classic Batman stories. But do I feel that it's something that as a Batman fan you should read? I do feel like it's something that as a Batman fan you should read, and it comes out to be a great read, really, if you just read it fully through. And if you don't mind reading a book because there's a lot of dialogue, then Zero Year came out really good. And I'm one that became very disinterested in Zero Year at the kind of towards the middle and end of it. But once read all together, I'm very happy with Zero Year. I'm very happy that I have the issues, that I kept with it. And I'm happy that I didn't, quit on the book. A recommendation on how you should read this, probably be well rested, because there is a lot of dialogue, and if you're anything like me, you can get tired easily. But if you're well rested, you just blow through these issues. And then there's a point in the story where I was absolutely hooked. Like, I would sit in the dark and read this because I was hooked already. So anyways, this video is pretty long. I'm not sure how good of a review it really was, but just know that I really enjoyed Zero Year. I think other people will enjoy Zero Year once they read it fully through. Give it a chance, an honest chance. Don't go into it very skeptical. Read it as if it was your first time reading it, and read it all the way through and just enjoy. But anyways, I'm Wellington signing off for the Comic Book Lowdown. See you guys next time.